I never intended to share this story publicly. If you had told me a year ago that I would be sitting here telling thousands of strangers about my death experience, I would have laughed. But what Jesus revealed to me in those 7 minutes and 23 seconds of clinical death, I couldn't keep to myself. Especially with what was about to happen. My name is Brooke Anderson. I'm 34 years old, a registered nurse at Mercy General Hospital, and until October 12, 2024, I was just a regular mom of 2, trying to balance work, family, and faith. That night changed everything. I was driving home after a 12-hour shift in the ER. It was pouring rain, and I remember thinking about how my son Tyler had a baseball game the next day that I couldn't miss. I still remember the way the raindrops hit the windshield like 1,000 tiny hearts beating in fear. The wipers struggled to keep up. My body was exhausted, but my mind was replaying the day. A teenage overdose, a mother's tears, the silent halls after a code blue. I whispered a tired prayer. Lord, give me strength to keep going. Then headlights. Too close. Too bright. And then silence. They told me later my car spun 3 times before crashing into a divider. My heart stopped for over 7 minutes. But those 7 minutes, they were eternity. One moment, I was in my car. The next, I was floating above it. I saw my own body twisted between the seat and the steering wheel. I should have felt fear, but I didn't. There was peace, deep, endless peace. And a strange knowing that I was being held by something greater than myself. Then I saw light. Not just any light. It wasn't blinding, it was alive. It pulsed like it had a heartbeat of its own. Every color I'd ever known seemed to exist inside it. The rain, the wreck, the noise, all faded away. I felt myself being lifted toward that living light, drawn by love itself. A voice spoke my name, softly, but it thundered through my entire being. Brooke. The moment I heard it, I knew. It was Jesus. I didn't see his face at first, but I felt his presence surround me, warm, powerful, pure. Every fear, every failure, every secret corner of my heart. He saw it all. And yet, I felt no shame. Only love. Pure, unfiltered love. Then he said, My child, I brought you here for a purpose. What I'm about to show you must be shared with my people. Many are sleeping, and the deception coming is far greater than they imagine. My heart trembled. I wanted to speak, but I had no voice, no body, only awareness. I whispered within my soul, Lord, I'm just a nurse. Who will believe me? He smiled, a smile that carried eternity. I have always used the humble to confound the wise. Do not fear who will listen. Your task is only to share. Then his hand reached toward mine, light touching light. And suddenly, the world around us began to change. The next thing I knew, we were standing in what looked like a city street, but it wasn't the same world I knew. The air shimmered with something unreal, like a dream both beautiful and terrifying. Jesus said, Watch, and see how the enemy prepares the world. The vision had begun. The city around me shimmered like glass, familiar yet not of this world. I could feel the hum of energy, the pulse of humanity. But it wasn't life as I knew it. The streets glowed faintly with neon veins, and people moved in perfect rhythm, their eyes empty but their faces smiling. It felt peaceful, too peaceful. Jesus stood beside me, his presence the only warmth in that cold perfection. Watch carefully, my child, he said softly. This is what the enemy calls progress. I looked closer. A woman entered a cafe. She didn't take out her phone or wallet. She simply waved her hand over a sensor, and a soft blue light pulsed under her skin. Payment complete, a voice said cheerfully. Others did the same, no cash, no cards, just that faint light beneath their flesh. Lord, I whispered, is that the mark? No, Jesus replied. This is what comes before. A seed of deception wrapped in convenience. The scene shifted. I saw church buildings filled with people, joyful, singing, alive. But something was off. Every believer had one of those glowing implants. They lifted their hands in worship, the same blue light flickering under their skin. Some pastors even used the device to project scriptures into the air. The congregation clapped. No one questioned it. They think it's harmless, Jesus said, his tone filled with sorrow. They think it's innovation. But step by step, They are surrendering their free will. I saw children being fitted with the same device. Parents smiled with relief. Now we can track their health, protect them, never lose them again. Hospitals advertised it as the cure for disease. Banks promised perfect security. Schools called it the future of education. Everywhere I looked, people celebrated it as progress, unaware of the invisible chain tightening around their souls. Then the light dimmed. The joyful hum became a low drone. I saw homes where families sat together but didn't truly speak. Their laughter felt mechanical, their eyes dull, as if someone else was controlling the rhythm of their emotions. Lord, they don't even realize they're changing, I said, trembling. They see only the benefits, Jesus replied. They no longer sense the cost, the slow dying of their spirit. Suddenly, the world began to tremble. Buildings flickered. Screens filled with breaking news. Global systems collapsing, banks failing, power grids darkening, nations in panic. And then I saw world leaders appear on every screen. Calm, confident, promising safety. We have the solution, they said. A single global upgrade, one system, one connection, one world. Jesus turned to me, his eyes burning with sorrow. This is how the mark will come. Not through fear, but through hope. Not through force, but through promise. I saw people lining up, eager, desperate. Religious leaders reassured them it wasn't against God. It's just technology, they said. But as each person received the new implant, I saw something dark seep into their spirits, subtle at first, then spreading like smoke. They can still pray, Jesus said. But their hearts are no longer free. They worship with words, but their souls no longer reach me. I couldn't stop crying. Lord, how can they not see? Because their eyes look only at the surface, he said. They lost the light within. Then Jesus faced me again, his voice tender yet filled with urgency. Tell them what you saw, Brooke. Warn them. The enemy's greatest weapon is comfort. But those who remain faithful will be covered by my light. I will protect those who trust in me. As his words faded, the city around us dissolved into blinding light, and I felt his hand release mine. If you're hearing this story, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe you were meant to hear this warning. Not to fear, but to prepare. Comment below if you believe Jesus still reveals truth in these final days. Subscribe so you won't miss the next part of Brooke's testimony, and may the Lord's hand protect you and your family in the days to come. Stay under his light. Stay awake. Stay faithful. The vision didn't fade, it deepened. As the bright city dissolved, I saw a new world emerge beneath it, darker yet eerily organized. It wasn't chaos. It was control. Everywhere I looked, screens glowed with messages of peace and unity. Billboards displayed smiling faces under the words, "One world, one mind, one future." People walked with calm expressions, their lives seemingly perfect. No poverty, no sickness, no war. But underneath that calm, I could feel a silence that wasn't peace. It was absence. The absence of free will. The absence of love. Lord, I whispered. It looks so perfect. Jesus' voice answered softly beside me. Perfection without me is the greatest lie. The enemy doesn't destroy truth, he replaces it. I watched a family at dinner. They laughed, but every word, every gesture felt rehearsed. When the little boy began to cry, his implant glowed faintly, and suddenly he stopped. His face became calm again. Do you see? Jesus said. Even sorrow has been edited. Without pain, there can be no compassion. Without choice, there can be no love. As he spoke, I saw classrooms where children were taught not to pray, but to connect. Teachers said, the system knows what you need. Trust the data. Bible verses were labeled outdated moral fables. Faith was replaced with logic, and worship replaced with progress. Then I saw churches still standing, still filled, but something vital was gone. The worship looked lively, the music emotional, but the presence of the Spirit was absent. The people raised their hands, but their eyes were glazed, like actors repeating lines from a forgotten script. Tears streamed down my face. Lord, where are you in this world? He turned to me, and his eyes held a sorrow too deep for words. I am where I have always been waiting. But they no longer seek me. They seek comfort, not truth. They worship convenience, not faith. Suddenly, I saw a small light appear, faint but alive. It grew brighter until I saw a small group of believers gathered in a dimly lit room. They had no technology, no implants, no screens. Just candles and open Bibles. They prayed with trembling voices, tears on their faces, and I could feel the presence of Jesus among them. These, he said, are my faithful ones. They are few, but their light pierces the darkness. They are not hidden from me. I watched as miracles unfolded among them. Food appearing when they had none, warmth in the cold, and peace even when danger surrounded them. Angels stood unseen, guarding their homes. Then Jesus said, "The world will mock them, persecute them, call them foolish. But in their weakness my strength will shine." The vision shifted again. I saw others, countless others, who once called themselves believers but now served the system. They quoted scripture, but twisted its meaning to justify compromise. Some said, God wants us to evolve. Others said, faith must adapt to survive. And slowly, they became blind to their own chains. My people are perishing for lack of discernment, Jesus said. They read my words but no longer hear my voice. I wanted to scream, to warn them, to reach into that world and shake them awake. But Jesus simply touched my hand. Your task is not to control, but to testify. Truth cannot be forced, it must be received. The light around us began to pulse, fading into gold. And his final words for that moment echoed in my spirit. Tell them, I am still here. I never left. But they must choose me freely. The light around me began to shift again. This time, splitting into two distinct paths before my eyes. One was bright but artificial, glittering with the illusion of safety. The other was narrow, dim, yet alive, pulsing with a warmth that felt real. Jesus stood between the two and said, Now you will see the separation, Brooke. My people will be divided, not by violence but by choice. Before me unfolded two worlds existing side by side. On one side were cities full of light and order, where people moved in harmony, guided by their implants and algorithms. They no longer argued, no longer wept. Everything was optimized, but their hearts were empty. Their eyes reflected light, not life. On the other side, hidden away in mountains, forests, and basements, small groups of believers gathered in secret. Their clothes were worn, their faces tired, but their eyes burned with something unbreakable, faith. Jesus said, These are my faithful ones. They refuse to bow to comfort. They have chosen me above the world. I saw families who had left everything behind. Homes, jobs, possessions, just to keep their freedom to pray. Mothers whispered scriptures to their children by candlelight. Fathers traded food with others who shared their faith. The world called them rebels. Heaven called them faithful. Then I saw the persecution intensify. Those who refused the global system could no longer buy food or medicine. Many were hunted, labeled as extremists or enemies of progress. But amid the fear, miracles began to unfold. A woman knelt beside her sick child, her tears soaking the ground. She had no medicine, no help. She whispered, Jesus, you are all I have left. And suddenly light filled the room. The child sat up healed. I saw food multiply in empty cupboards, and flames that refused to burn the houses of those who prayed. Jesus said, When the world denies them bread, I will feed them myself. Then I saw angels, countless, radiant, surrounding the camps of believers. They stood guard, invisible to their enemies. Every time soldiers approached, confusion broke out. They couldn't see. They couldn't enter. It was as if heaven itself had drawn a line of fire around them. These, Jesus said, are my hidden ones. They will endure until the end, and their faith will light the way for those who are lost. But not everyone remained strong. I saw some who once resisted but eventually gave in, weary from hunger and fear. They told themselves it wasn't worship. It's just survival. But as they accepted the mark, the light within them dimmed. Their names faded from the book that once shone before the throne. Tears welled in my eyes. Lord, must it be this way? Jesus looked at me with deep compassion. Love cannot be forced, Brooke. Every heart must choose. The time of shaking reveals what is truly rooted in me. He stretched out his hand again, and I saw the two worlds more clearly, one dazzling but hollow, the other poor but holy. The great divide has begun, he said. Tell them to stand firm. Tell them not to fear. My protection is not of this world. The light grew warmer, wrapping around us like a living fire. I felt his words enter my soul. Even in darkness, my light will not be overcome. Then his voice faded, but his presence remained, and I heard him whisper, "Those who remain faithful to the end will see what eyes have not seen. The glory of my coming." The light grew brighter. So bright I thought my spirit would dissolve into it completely. Every sound, every thought faded until there was only love. A love so vast, so alive, it felt like breathing eternity itself. Jesus stood before me once more, radiant, gentle, and strong. His eyes carried galaxies, yet they looked at me as if I were the only soul in all creation. "My child," he said, "you have seen what is coming, and you have seen those who will remain faithful. But now, it's time for you to return." Return. I whispered, "Lord, I don't want to go back. Not after this. Not after feeling your presence." He smiled tenderly. "I know, Brooke. None who taste heaven wish to leave it. But there are still souls waiting to hear the truth through you. I will give you my peace, and a message to carry." Then his hand touched my heart, and instantly, waves of understanding flowed through me. I saw people all over the world, weary, fearful, searching for something real. I saw men trapped in greed, women drowning in despair, children growing up without love. And over them all, I saw a veil, a mist of deception dimming their hearts. Jesus said, "Tell them this, I never left. My love has not changed. But they have let the noise of the world drown my voice." His tone grew more solemn. "The days ahead will test every heart. Many will choose comfort over conviction, safety over surrender. But those who remain steadfast will shine brighter than the darkness itself. I will protect my faithful. I will pour out my spirit again, not in buildings of stone, but in hearts of flesh." I felt the fire of his words burn inside me. "Lord," I said through tears, "how can I do this? Who will believe me?" "Do not fear," he said. "You are not alone. I will speak through you. Just tell your story, and I will draw the hearts that are ready." Then I saw visions, flashes of people hearing this message online, in living rooms, through screens. Some would mock, some would ignore, but others would fall to their knees, weeping, feeling his presence for the first time. Jesus continued, "The time of awakening has begun. Tell them to return to their first love, to open their Bibles, to pray not with lips but with hearts. Tell them to love one another deeply, for love will be the only language the darkness cannot counterfeit." His light surrounded me like a storm of peace. "My grace will be enough," he said. "Now go, and remind them that even in the darkest night, I am still the morning light." And just like that, the light swallowed everything. I felt a sudden weight, a heartbeat, a gasp. The cold air of the hospital room filled my lungs. The monitors were beeping wildly. Nurses were shouting my name. I was back. When I opened my eyes, tears streamed down my face. The doctors called it a miracle. But I knew better. It wasn't just a second chance, it was a mission. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've left my job at the hospital. I spend my days sharing what I saw, online, in small groups, in churches. Not everyone believes me, and that's okay. Because this isn't about me. It's about him. And if you're listening now, please hear this. You are loved. You are seen. And no matter how far you've drifted, Jesus is still calling your name. He hasn't left you. He never will. If this story reached your heart, don't ignore it. Leave a comment if you feel Jesus tugging at your spirit tonight. Subscribe and walk with us through stories of faith, redemption, and hope. May his protection cover you. May his peace dwell in your home. And may his light guide you through the days to come. He never left. He's still calling. Will you answer?